Hello, everyone. Welcome to Vanjaro webinar. Just if you could let me know if you can hear me via chat. Okay, great. Let's get started. I am Mandeep Singh, founder and CEO of Vanjaro, and today we will be creating a template from scratch in Vanjaro. So let's get this going. So a couple of things before we get started. Use chat to ask any questions you have along the way, and I'll periodically look at it and then answer your questions. And then if you have any suggestions for the topics for the next webinar, please put them into the chat as well. So we'll consider those after we're done with this webinar, and we put the next webinar on in a couple of days on vanjaro.com. All right, so let's get started. We have a lot to do. In 1 hour, we're going to try and go ahead and create a theme or a template, so to say, from scratch. And one of the community members reached out to us last week or a couple of days ago, actually, and they said, "Hey, I found this Bootstrap-based template on Theme Forest. Could you guys make something similar to this?" So what we're going to do as an exercise today is look at a theme that was kind of suggested or given by a community member and see if we can kind of build something similar. All right, so let's get started here. All right, just again, a thumbs up or just let me know if you could see my screen. I am currently looking at vanjaro.com. Okay, all right. So before we get started, let's look at this theme right here. This is one of the community members kind of gave to us and said, "Hey, could you build something like this?" So the goal today in this webinar is going to try to build a theme that is similar to this. Now, of course, we don't have a whole lot of time. So the goal would be just to build the core components, which is a header and a footer. And then if time permits, we'll build some of these sections in between and so forth. All right, so without further ado, let's get started. I'm just going to jump over to vanjaro.com and kind of create a brand new site to get started here. And I'm just going to hit new site. And I'm just going to start with the default Vanjaro template here. So we have something to start with. But what we're going to do is we're going to start with a clean slate. So one of the very first things we're going to do is get rid of everything we have. All right, so this is a webinar template that we're creating. And the goal is to design a new template in under an hour. Let's see if you can do that. And I'm just going to go ahead and get through this. That video you saw, there are a bunch of cars moving, is going to eventually be replaced with a quick getting started video. So those who are hopping onto Vanjaro for the first time have a quick video to know what to do next. So that brings another disclaimer. We are still working on a pre-release version. Things may go south, but hopefully this is will work for everyone. All right, so we got a page. The very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get rid of everything on this page because we want to start with scratch. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete everything I have here, and just get a clean blank page with nothing else on it. One of the other things I'm going to do is actually go to the blocks, the global block, and delete the default footer and default header that comes with it. So now I have a clean slate. And I'm going to periodically switch between this right here so we can look at this and kind of build something similar. Now, for obvious reasons, for copyright reasons, we're not going to try to match this exactly. We're not going to use any of their images or their fonts or anything like that. So we'll use this as an inspiration point and we'll kind of build on it. But the goal is not to kind of, just copy it all together. All right, so let's go ahead and work on the header. Let's work on the header first, and then we'll go from there. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab a section, add it to the top, and in the section, I'm just going to add a grid. 2-column grid is good. On the left in the grid, let's add a logo. So go down here and we'll add a logo there. And on the right, we'll add a menu. All right, so let's resize this logo Now I can do precise resizing to style. Let's just do 150 pixels right now. And if you notice, I don't see a menu. That's because there were no pages created. There's really nothing to show in the menu. So let's do that first. We need welcome, landings, pages, components, and so forth. So I'm going to really quick go ahead and create some pages. I'll just create blank pages here. I'll just call it welcome. I'll do another one. We'll call this one landings. We'll repeat, just so we can get a structure. Pages. And if you notice, as I am creating these pages, the menu is kind of populating behind the scenes. So it's coming into view and documentation. So let's add one more there as well. All right, so now that we got a menu in place, we could go ahead and add some more components. So let's work on this little part right here. Let's add a quick text. And I'm just going to go ahead and simply add the pipe sign there. Now, this is the cool part in Vanjaro. If you want an element to be block level, you can simply choose alignment. But if you want to make it inline, just uncheck the alignment. It comes right on top. And then what I'm going to do is just give it a margin, maybe a 15 pixels on the left. Okay, so that kind of looks like what I want. Let's grab a icon. And we get the GitHub icon. That's what I believe they had. And let's give it a size. That's about good. Let's give it a margin left and right. So again, kind of just trying to mimic what's going on here. So now that I have that, I can just quickly copy it and put a Twitter icon. And then I will put an Instagram. All right, so far, that's what I have here. And let's work on the menu, and then let's work on adding this additional link. So same thing, we can go ahead and grab another text. You know what, even better, I'm just gonna copy this one right here and just drag it to the right. And let's grab a link. Just put that right there. And let's give this link a margin left, maybe 25 pixels. That looks good. Let's change this to be purchased now. And that's good. Okay, so we're gonna move this here, give our column some more space. We really don't need that big of a column. I can actually move it here, give our menu more space to breathe. And then we can go to options for that column options, right align everything. And similarly for this one, let's keep it left aligned, but I want it to be vertically middle, so that looks much better. All right. So let's see. Just to recap, I'm just trying to build the header right now, and so far I've added a section with a column grid with the logo, menu, and some separator stuff. So if I go back here, I see there's a border running at the bottom. Let's go ahead and do that. Now that border can be added to our grid here. So let's go to styling, let's go to border, and we'll do bottom border solid. About a pixel is good. And let's add some padding. So it kind of looks like that. All right, so far so good. Things are falling in place, and we can now go ahead and work on styling the menu and adding other stuff. Now, before I style the menu, because currently I'm building everything in the default colors, and it really doesn't look anything like this. So let's go ahead and kind of change some of the stuff. Let's add another section here. Here's my section. Let's get this image into place. We want to add this image so it kind of looks more similar to what we are trying to replicate here. So here's a section, and I can simply go to these options and go down here and choose a background image. Now, I'm not going to use their image, and I don't have any images. So let's, who's holding a coffee cup? Let's go search for a coffee image of our Pixabay, which is royalty-free images. And I will just grab this one right here. All right, let's just drag this down. Now, if you notice, our header is actually in the menu. Now, let's go ahead and change the tag on this to be header to be semantically correct. And I'm going to go ahead and move this into the section here. This particular section, we really don't need the padding, so let's get rid of it from the top. And this menu, this section right here can probably also work on the padding a little bit. So let's go ahead and do that. Maybe 25 would be good right there. Okay, so we're going to drag this down. So we have above the fold kind of covering the entire image. And let's go down here to the section and call this top center. So we'll move the image a little bit down. I'm also going to cover it so it looks a little bit better than rather than all zoomed in. So it's looking better already. All right. Obviously, we have to do more work on this, but so far so good. All right, now let's go ahead and start working on our colors because we probably need a white color to go on that image. Let's go to Design, Themes, and while we're at it, we're also going to go ahead and add a custom font to it because we want to have our specific fonts. I'm going to go to Custom first so we can quickly add a font, and currently the font is Poppins. I'll get rid of that one. And because Vanjaro is integrated with Google Fonts, I have a list, hundreds of fonts available here already. I'm just going to go ahead and choose Roboto, which is a sans serif, very popular font. I'll use that. You have to save your theme for the fonts to kick in, so I'll go ahead and do that. And then now what we're going to do is go ahead and set the site colors. So the first thing I'm going to do is set some colors. Now, if we go back here, I notice there's this yellow color being used. So I'm going to use that as one of my primary colors. I have the color code here on my other screen. I'm just going to copy it and bring it in. And then I'm just going to set that in. That's my yellow color. For secondary, I'm just going to use white. So what happens is all the design components automatically inherit from secondary. So our menu and everything should automatically change to white now. I shouldn't really have to do anything. So let's go ahead and save that. And there you go. It has now changed to white. The link is still black. Now, if you notice, this image is not, background image is not so great. I can't really see my menu clearly. Now, normally, this is where you would have your graphic designers come in and build, a great looking background image for you. Well, thankfully, there's an image editor built into Vanjaro. So we're going to try and kind of fix this image for ourselves. There is no editor option right here in background image, which is going to come in a future version. So what I'm going to do right now is just simply drag an image anywhere on the page, choose the image that we just downloaded, which is already in our asset manager now. And I'm just going to click on it and just, again, this is just a shortcut, get to the editor, and there's my editor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to filters, and I can definitely add a tint to make this much more easy to work with. But instead, I'm going to go ahead and multiply this maybe like that. So I'll hit apply, and what it's doing behind the scenes right now is not only creating the new image, it's creating a WebP version of it. It's creating 5 different responsive versions of it, different sizes. And it's doing all that behind the scenes for us and automatically done for it. So I'm just going to get rid of this again. I did that just so I could quickly get to the editor. Then I'm going to go back here and switch out to the new image that I just created. So that looks much better. My menu is now much, much more visible. I've kind of fixed the background image and it looks much better than what we just did. So now would be a good time to kind of go ahead and perfect everything up here because we're still not close to what this looks like. Let's go ahead and change the logo for once because with that kind of dark background, a dark logo doesn't work well. So I'm just going to go ahead and upload a new logo really quick. And I'm just going to add a white horizontal transparent logo. Looks much better. And at this point, it would be nice to just simply go ahead and choose the colors to match everything else. Secondary color was set as white, so that's an option right here for me. I'm going to quickly go ahead and do that. Now, this is a separator, so what I'm going to do is kind of add an opacity to it. I don't want it to be so dark, so maybe a 50% or 30% opacity I'm going to add to it. And that looks much better. So same thing right here. Let's make this white. And then we have also a separator down there. Let's go ahead and give that an opacity of 30 as well. So, all right, things are falling into place. Let's go back here. We have the border. The border drawing is also still black, so I can't really tell what's going on there. Let's go ahead and change the border to white as well. And then maybe you want to give opacity to this too, so it's not really bright. All right, that looks much better, I think. Let's go back here and see if there is anything else we want to do. All right, look at the menus. The menus are uppercase and probably a bold font than what we have. So let's go back to the design. Let's go to themes. And I'm going to go ahead and design this. Design the menu. So we could have multiple styles of menu now. There's a style A, and I'm just going to look at it. There's tons of options here, so I'm just going to try and just jump to where we need to go. I'm trying to change the nav link text transform. Let's change that to uppercase, so that looks better up there. And then let's just change the fonts, not the style, but the weight to be medium. So it's now bold, looks much better. All right, already it's looking good. Let's see if there's anything else we need to do before I can move on. Okay, so let's save this. And let's match our menu styling to this one link that we added on the right, which is a purchase button link. So let's just go here and go to styling, and I can go make this medium bold as well. So it kind of matches. One of the things we want to do is match the font size. So there we go. And then also make this transform to uppercase. So now it kind of looks just like the menu. So far so good. We got our header in place, and that wasn't bad. 20 minutes, less than 20 minutes. We got our header in place, and we've done bulk of the work. Most of the work is the header in any template. We will spend some time making sure this is 100% mobile responsive right now. And before we do that, we also have to add the footer. So we can go ahead and kind of do that at this point, I guess. So let's go ahead and grab another section. I'm just going to put it at the bottom right here. And that could be a section for our content. And I'm just going to go ahead and grab another section and put it at the bottom here as well. Now this one, I'll change the tag on it to be footer. We'll use this as our footer. Let's give it a color. So let's go down here and kind of try and match their footer. It's a similar color. And they got a background image using, but I'll skip that for now. Same process. You just add a background image. But let's go ahead and try to build this really quick. I'm going to go to the section padding and just kind of get a little bit more padding so it's a little bit more bigger. Let's grab a grid. It's a 2-column grid, which is exactly what we need. Let's grab a logo from here. We'll add the logo down here. Too big, but that can be easily solved. That's better. What else do they have? They have a copyright going on. So we can go ahead and add that as well. So there's a question from Tico. Why do you need to assign header and footer for SEO? Very important to create semantically correct code. You want to let the search engines and the world and accessibility readers, everybody know, hey, this is my header and this is my footer and everything between is content. So like I said, we went in great details in pain to make sure that what you can create here visually is 100% better than what you can do with custom code. So anything we can do with custom code is an option here. If not, it will be here, because the goal is not to just build a web builder. The goal is to build a web builder that can literally replace doing any custom code. So as you see, everything we've done here so far has been drag and drop, and the end result will be is a template that is super fast in terms of Google page speed and Lighthouse testing. It's going to be responsive. You'll be able to design for each device, tablet, mobile, and so forth. It's going to be accessible and so forth. So let's go ahead and continue. I'm just going to go ahead and grab a text here, put it in. Now, I don't see the color of the text because by default, the color is text are always dark color and my background is dark, so I don't see it. So let's change that to light. I can see the color really quickly. And just I copied and pasted some content here. Maybe that's better. And it's too close. Now, there's a couple of ways you could do padding. I mean, if you're a designer, you understand what margins and paddings are, great. But if you're really an end user, then you got the spacer block. You can always drag that in and kind of create spacing if you need to that way. So it kind of works either way. I could have just as easily click here, go to styling, and added a margin top if I wanted to. So just kind of really up to you what you're comfortable with. So if we look at the footer, we got a logo and this simple thing here. So that's good. Then we got some links and some social icons again on the right. So let's do this, and then we will have the bare bones ready. Again, this is because the color. So let's call it terms. Can't recall what is it. Terms and conditions, privacy policy, and contact us. So terms and conditions. So let's go ahead and take this column and right line it and grab the link here that I've created. I'm going to go ahead and give this link a margin left of maybe 15 pixels or 10 pixels. So when I copy it, they're not all right next to each other. There we go. Quickly copy that, and privacy policy and contact us. So policy and contact us. Why don't you use the DNN skin objects? There's no such thing in Vanjaro. There's no DNN skin, there's no DNN sub objects, there's no web forms in Vanjaro being used. So all of that was scraped off. And we have not exactly equivalent, but we have something similar of our own in design called design blocks. These are Razor Pages driven, and you can use these instead. So there's a breadcrumb, there's the usual stuff that you would see in DNN. But there's absolutely no need or reason to use skin object. I mean, they're just incompatible. So you can't use skin objects. All right. So let's go ahead and grab an icon and just put it right here. Now the icon is on the right. I will grab another spacer, space it out, put it at the bottom. Maybe a little smaller, make it white, change it to GitHub. And then same thing, we'll just give it a maybe a 15 pixel margin left and duplicate that and do Twitter and Instagram. All right. All right, that looks better. Okay, so not bad. I'm about 25 minutes. I got a header in place. I got a footer in place. Let's go ahead and work on making sure that this is mobile friendly and everything looks good. So I could go ahead and switch to a tablet view, and you can see this is how it looks in tablet view, which is great. It's not bad. Out of the box, it looks great. But if I go to a mobile landscape, I see my icons are not breaking. There's just not enough room for them. And if I go to mobile portrait, they're breaking as well. So let's go ahead and fix this. I mean, if I look at this one right here, since we're using this as an inspiration, we'll just take a look at it. If I just look at this in mobile, well, I see they removed everything. They just kept the logo in a menu. All right, so let's kind of go ahead and do that. I can go ahead and click on these icons, and I'm going to go to responsive tab. I'm going to say, hey, hide this in mobile portrait, in landscape, in tablet. We'll just kind of show this in desktop. And we're going to do the same thing here. This is a bug that we're aware of. The bindings are incorrect, and that's something we will get resolved right before the official release. But I'm just going to switch these so they take effect. Now, basically what I've just done, if I go down here to tablet, I shouldn't see those anymore. They're gone. And same thing in portrait and so forth. So let's go ahead and repeat that process for this link. And for this right here. And having done that, I now see a very clean layout, just the way I intended. So if you look right here, the menus are no longer aligned, right? So what happened is that grid, we had a 2-column grid. There's a column on the top and a column on the bottom. In mobile, Bootstrap pushes everything into one column. Well, we can solve that easily. All we got to do is push it back out here and push this back out here. And behind the scenes, what Vanjaro is now doing is handling those responsive column classes for you. So if I switch out to desktop, still 2-column. If I switch to tablet, 2-column, and then portrait, looking beautiful as well. So just a couple clicks, and now we have a template that is 100% responsive and looking good. So let's look at the footer. It's a mess. All right, so let's see what we can do about it. The footer that we created was a 2-column footer. When we go to portrait mode, those 2 columns basically come right. Again, same thing. We got a column on the top and a column on the bottom. So we got to do a couple of things here. First, I don't want my Vanjaro and copyright to be on the top. I would probably want that to be my last thing. So I'm going to go to the grid, and this is a neat little tool here to select the parent. So here's the column. If I use this, I'm now at the grid. And in grid, I have the option to reverse columns. Now, remember, this is only going to happen in mobile. So when you are looking this at desktop, there's still, Vanjaro logo is still on the left. But if I go to mobile portrait, now it's at the bottom, which means switch to the right. So that's pretty neat. Let's go ahead and click on the columns and center line this column as well. Let's grab the parent. And let's give it some margin so they're not so tightly coupled. Looks better. Let's get this guy to be center aligned as well. Now, that's what my footer looks like in mobile. Now, of course, if I want this to all fit in, and which I can do a demo of on one line, I can go ahead and play with the font size. Maybe go 12 font size on this one, 12 font size on this one, and 12 font size on this one as well. And now all of those fit in one line, but everything still looks the same on the desktop. So very quickly, we created a responsive template that is ready to go. Now, I can go ahead and start working on some of the sections. But before I do that, I mean, we can go ahead and build this out and build some of the sections out. But before I go ahead and do that, let me explain how to actually use this as a template. So what I'm going to do is this header on the top that we created, we're going to go ahead and save it as a block. And we're going to call this a global block. Let's give it a category. I'm just going to call it, this is a site level block, and I'm going to call it header. So let's save that. And then same thing with the footer. I'm going to go ahead and save this as a block and call it a footer. Now, so far, I haven't hit publish once. It's been 30 minutes since we're doing this, and that's not great, right? Because, well, the draft saved automatically, so we don't have to worry about it. If I were to refresh the page, everything's still there. We don't lose anything. But I'm going to go ahead and just publish this now, so we have something as a revision that is saved. So if I make changes, I can always go back to that revision. Why did I save these as blocks? What I'm going to do is get rid of this section and instead go to my global blocks, the new header I just created, grab and put that in. So now that is a global block. If you see, there's a little globe icon here. It also says global on the top, and you have this bunch of tools on the right. Basically, a global block is that anytime you make changes to this block, it should reflect across all global blocks. So if I'm going to have 500-page website, I don't want to go make changes to each header on top. Once I make it here, it's going to be changed everywhere. So that global block does that trick. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this footer and add the global block footer here. All right, so there's my global block footer. And here's my section where I could really add content and so forth. So now that I've done this, I'm going to go ahead and save this page as a template. And I'm, again, kind of demonstrating how you would use templates and pages in Vanjaro. I'm going to go ahead and save this as a template. It is a homepage template, so let's get a matching icon to go with it, and I'll hit update. So now, next time when I create a page, I will not use blank page. I'll use my home page as my template. I'll give it a name here. Just create a page really quick. And if I go to that page, this is my new test page. There you go. I have the starting point to go ahead and start writing content. So now you just got to switch your images out and change your content, and you can go ahead and continue building. Now, the great thing is if I were to ever make change to the header, it will then reflect across all these pages because this header on the top is a global block and it's shared across all these pages. And your content is basically independently running. So that's global blocks. I ran through this much faster than I thought. So I was thinking that it would take me at least an hour to get here. So now that we have additional time, I'll be happy to address some of the questions that you have in the chat. And what I'm going to do is actually one thing we didn't do is the submenus. We can do that, and then I'm going to go ahead and start building some of these sections out to see what would it take to actually keep building this page. I will keep looking at the chat for any more questions, and in the meantime, I can go ahead and continue building this. Now we could certainly add some sub pages and design the sub page. I can just add let's say sub page 1 to our welcome page. Let's add another sub page. Let's do one more. So we have another question. Can you apply a template to a page that has already been created? No, the template is really there to kind of help you use as a starting point for a new page. But what you're trying to do can just as easily be done. So, for example, let's say we have this page here, this whole section here. Now I can save this as 3 individual blocks if I want. So let's say I want to use this hero banners on another page, an existing page. Well, I can take this entire block and save it as a custom block, not as a global block, and then just drag and drop on any page I want. Now, if you want to have the entire page saved, you can still do that. All you got to do is grab a section and put all these 3 sections in it and save that section. So just to demonstrate this, I'm going to do it right here. Looks like we have another bug I can't really get to and see my actions there because of the area, because of the global block. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. Some bug there. We have the lead designer on the call, so you should be noticing and taking care of these. I'm gonna go ahead and create a new category for this. I'm gonna call them sections. Like let's call it hero banners. And I'm just gonna say a full width banner. I'm gonna call this a custom block, not a global block. Update. So now, if you go to your blocks, you just created yourself a custom block right here under hero banners. So, for example, let's go to a blank page where we haven't done anything like this one. And it's an existing page, so I can now go here and just simply drag and drop, and it will come into view. So that you can use the same concept to save the entire page as a custom block, and then you can drag and drop it anywhere you want. So that is the question that was answered for Elliot, and then you can keep the questions coming, and I'll just try and build at least this little part here. So let's add a grid, 1 column. Let's add some spacer to the top. Let's see what we have. We got a text, a heading, text, and a button. So text, heading, text, button. All right, let's give this some color. Call this Vanjaro. Central line it. This one's called landing pages for any occasion. Central line it. This we just leave it as lorem ipsum. Central line it. Let's central line this. It's called purchase now. Let's change this to an outline, large. Looks good. Add another spacer on the top. Add another spacer here. Let's style these. Uppercase. Maybe a couple font down. And medium bold, and let's give it some opacity. That's good. All right. This one also had some opacity, so let's give that some opacity as well. And let's see how close it gets. So, okay, so this is another interesting thing I can show here, something about grid. You see my columns going from edge to edge here, and there's kind of just going here. So again, very simple. You can just go ahead and say, hey, I want my column to be just this big. And now I need it to be central line, so I can go down here and say center line or right align, or if you do multiple columns, this is your flex box stuff. You can have them go around and so forth. So that's that. We got our hero banner complete. So let's hit publish. Okay, let's see how we're doing on time. We got about 14 more minutes into this webinar, and I could go ahead and take a shot at building one of these sections if you like. It's really simple. there's really nothing. There's an image and a heading and a text here. The only thing that's really different is when you hover over, it kind of moves up or a shadow comes in, and all that is possible with our styling manager. You could simply go ahead here and change the state to hover. So I want to say when I hover over that text, we can do anything we want, but let's just change the color. Let's just change the color to oops, something's wrong there. Oh, obviously on hover, so that's fine. Change the color to maybe just red on hover. And the best way to preview this, we'll go out here and preview it. Green, that's not good. Maybe I clicked on preview before it auto-saved. There we go. And it is now red. Let's switch back to normal state and change this from black to white. So that looks good. And let's go preview again. So there you go, that's red. Now it's with this particular thing, as you see, it kind of animates. It's not just really jumping like our color is jumping. So again, that is also pretty easy to do here. What we're going to do is on hover, we have transitions. So I'm just going to add a transition, and I'm going to say can apply to all properties in about a second. So it's going to take about a second to kind of change the color, which is pretty good. And we're going to do the same thing when it comes back from hover to normal state. So I'm going to go to transitions and say add a second there too. All right, we'll just give it just a second so it auto-saves, and it probably did, and go back here. So now if you see, it kind of fades in and fades out rather than just jumping in and out. So pretty cool. Now I could have done the same exact thing to an image, and instead of just changing its color, I would have just changed its positioning. For example, here's a button. To save time, I'm not going to drag an image, but I could just go to positioning, and I could have just played with it. Change that to relative, and I could have just changed its top level and have that animate. So when you hover over it, kind of just transitions and bumps a couple pixels up, just like what this image is doing right here. Right here. So very easy to kind of achieve this. Like I said, this is just a heading text, really nothing special going on. It's really quick and easy to kind of create these. This right here is, again, pretty easy to create something like that. You got a divider. Let's add a divider. And we're going to give it a height. So let's do 100 pixels. And then we can go ahead and change this to pixels and say, yeah, that looks good. There's thinner, so we can do about 3 pixel. And there you go, just create a divider. So I can simply use that. And this is interesting. How do you do this with the dividers on the top and bottom? Again, this is just basic CSS. So an example would be, I can move this down here. An example would be, how do I go here? So first thing I want to do is just use positioning, and I can change its top up. But I got 100 pixels. Not quite. -110. Let's do negatives. There we go. And you get the idea. Basically, I'm still off a little bit, maybe another 5 pixels there, but that's how you could quickly create that same design and kind of go and build from it. I don't see anything else on this page that we can do just intuitively. This is same, it's just an image in the background. Pricing grids is another example, right? We really don't need to use shortcodes. I mean, I could build this in less than 10 minutes. And then once I build it once, I save it as a custom block. Then I can use it on any page anytime I want. This is nothing but a section which has a border applied to the top with the color, heading, more heading. And then I can use a list for this and a button. And then to add more, you just create one, and then you just keep duplicating it. Just use the copy button right on top and create as many as you want. You can Control-Z your way out of it. So super easy. So I guess we'll call it a day in terms of building. Anything else? It'll be time to take any other questions. Is lazy load available below the fold? Lazy load applies to all images by default. So performance is super important, and all images are lazy load below the fold as well. Yes, absolutely. Um, all right, we're past our time. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining for this webinar. Like I said, if you have any suggestions for next webinar, just put them in chat. We'll review those, and then we'll set up a topic for next one. And hopefully, we should have this out the door in about 2 weeks. And we truly appreciate everyone joining here and being part of our early adoption for Vanjaro.